It looks like I'm going to be in a lot of these fights tonight, boys, because I'm in the next one as well. Against Mr. Kevin Steele on Le'Veon Bell. You have him all the way down at the 13th spot. Oh, no love for the guy coming back to football after a year off. I have him up at 7. I'm a little higher on him, just a little bit. So I once again will let you.
So for me with Le'Veon, it has a lot. It has a lot to do with a lot of things. One is the offense with Adam Gase. I don't know if I just can't envision a scenario where Le'Veon Bell gets the type of workload that he got with Pittsburgh. And if he doesn't, I think that is an issue, and that's something that should be taken into consideration with him. We know this offense is going to be as explosive as what he was with the Steelers. And so with that, like, I do think that there's things to be worried about. And if you look at the running backs that are going around him, I just feel more confident in a lot of these guys that are going around him right now. I have not taken Le'Veon Bell in a single draft, and like I haven't even thought about it in any draft. And I do think that says something about him, which is crazy, right? Because, just last year he was a lock for a top 3, top 4 guy. But he's going from a situation in Pittsburgh where he's running behind one of the best run blocking offensive lines in the league now to one of the absolute worst. I actually think the Jets were the 32nd in the league in run blocking last year. That is, a huge problem for me with him. Yes, I think he's going to get work as a pass catcher, but again, I don't know if he's going to see the 100 targets that you would typically see for him. I think it could be in the range of 60 to 70 targets. We know Le'Veon Bell is a fiery guy as well, and does he start to clash with Gase? So I don't know. It looks like right now, which I think is a problem too, is that it seems from all reports is that Jamison Crowder is really starting to build a rapport with Sam Darnold as well. So with all those things considered, I just can't see myself taking Le'Veon Bell, and then he's just kind of outside of the range where I would ever want to take him.
I'm kind of confident in him. I'm confident in him at 7. I mean, this is one of the most dynamic running backs we have ever seen, right? And a year off of football is a big deal. I don't want to downplay that at all. But we haven't heard any reports out of camp that he's out of shape or that he doesn't look good or he's not ready to go. So, I mean, all we can do is take that for what it's worth. They did just bring Ryan Khalil out of retirement, and they added another offensive lineman who I'm kind of blanking on the name on right now. Listen, I love Jamison Crowder too. I think he's going to have a huge part in the offense. But we haven't heard diddly out of Quincy and Nunwa. Chris Herndon is suspended for the first 4 games, and the only other guy they have is Robbie Anderson. So if it's Anderson, Crowder, and Bell, I think that's a nice 3-headed monster they'll have there at least for the first 4 games. I think Bell is going to be heavily involved. I don't think the offense will be as slow-paced as we saw with Miami. I think Adam Gase did not like the tools that he had to work with in Miami, and I think a lot of people would agree that they didn't like them either. Mr. I'm a statue in the pocket Tannehill, and then he, for whatever reason, did not like Kenyon Drake very much, so that's neither here nor there. Back to Le'Veon Bell. Listen, it's hard for me to take a guy who was so dynamic when he was with the Steelers, and I understand it's the Steelers, and they come from a different pedigree than the Jets do, but I just think that they are going to feed the ball to Le'Veon Bell. And I don't have a lot of him either, only because I do like the receiver value there better at the end of the first round. But if I'm there in the 10, 11, 12 spot and he comes back around to me in the second round, I'm probably snagging Bell there every single time, and I'm feeling pretty good about it. There's a lot of red flags here, and I know I use red flags against Damian Williams, but Le'Veon Bell is a much better runner than Damian Williams. So I like to keep him up there, and I have a hard time rooting for him because he's on the Jets, but I think he'll have a good season.
Do you think that, because we got those early reports, especially after they fired the GM and, Gase, some of those little reports came out about, like, maybe he didn't really want them to sign Le'Veon Bell. He didn't think they needed him. Do you think at all, because he seems like the type of guy that would hold those type of grudges or think that, he is just the man and he doesn't need a running back like Le'Veon Bell and, like, tries to prove a point with it? Like, I know that's very narrative based and, like, it really has no bearing, and there's not anything predictive with that or anything like that, but right. I don't know, like, Adam Gase just seems like one of those types of people. And so, like I said, like, there's just a lot of things. Like, and again, one could make an argument that in Miami that he never had a Le'Veon Bell, right? Like, he had Jay Ajayi, who's right now out of the league. He had Kenyon Drake.
You don't even have to make the argument. He didn't have a Le'Veon Bell.
But there are certainly things that, like, because we also don't know what Le'Veon Bell looks like not behind the best offensive line, one of the best offensive lines in the league. That definitely needs to be taken into consideration, because his game is built off of that patience, that waiting for for a hole to open up. If you're running behind an awful offensive line, you can't do that. You can't sit back there and dance around and wait. He's gonna have to hit a hole and go. And he's not used to really. He doesn't. That's not his game. That's what everybody talks about with him, is that his unique running style. He's not gonna be able to do that in New York. He's gonna have to change that up. And if it does, how does that affect him? And so, like I said, I think there's just so many things about him that, maybe I'll end up regretting it, but I just don't think he ends up returning the value that I think people want.
I think I really wanted to respond actually to the first time around to the idea of Gase not wanting him or butting heads and things like that. And I think if I'm scared of anything, that is the number one thing I'm scared of, because Adam Gase has very much proven that he is that type of guy. He has that type of arrogance where he knows everything and he knows what's right, and he will hold a grudge. I haven't seen anything other than him saying that, like, he didn't want to spend that much money, or that report coming out saying he didn't want to spend that much money on Bell. I haven't seen any contentious reports on Bell and Gase. So it's hard to base the rankings off of that. If I'm going to draft him that early, I'm really, really hoping that they get along for the full season, because if they don't, that could end up being just an absolute disaster. Could see Bell traded. Who knows?